Hello all and welcome back to my Darkseed 2 guide read. The guide is of course written by Leanne Morris. We left off on Chapter 9, Death Becomes Him. Just a reminder, like the last video, I'm adding my logo as a visual indicator for when I go off script. Let's get started. When Mike dies, he is carried to another familiar scene, a ledge between tall shafts. A long staircase leads up from the shaft, and a river of blood runs far below between the shaft walls. This is the river in which Rita fell in the vision he had in Dr. Sim's office. While he's trying to get his bearings, another keeper spirit appears.
You are in the underworld, Michael,
She says, the river of the dead. He knew it had been a bad day, but he hadn't realized exactly how bad. The keeper knows his name because she's been expecting him. As the keeper of the souls, she has charge over everyone who dies, or whose biomatter has expired. Luckily, Mike's not exactly dead because it's more difficult to kill people who aren't from the dark world. The keeper of the souls just wants to give Mike a little pep talk in case he's not convinced about how important his mission is. Mike's destiny is to destroy the ancients and save the normal world. Some Dark Worlders will help him and pay for the dubious honor with their lives. And in case Mike needs a visual aid, along comes a shallow vessel of biomatter moving down the banister of the long stairway. When it reaches the end of the rail, the pan is dumped into the river. That was the Keeper of the Light, Mike's told. She sacrificed herself so Mike could fulfill his destiny. Oh, and the Keeper of the Souls has just one more comment before Mike can leave. If he's careless, Mike will return here, and this time, the trip will be permanent. The Hall of Troopers. When Mike climbs the stairs leading from the underworld, he falls through the wall onto a catwalk platform near the power center. In a spooky touch, he falls through the dark world equivalent of the chalk outline in the normal world crime scene. It's the most literal dead end in the game. Mike's work in the Hall of Justice might be completed for the time being, but he never made it into the Hall of Troopers. Not that he's eager, he had some disagreeable encounters with troopers in the first Darkseed. He's rewarded for his perseverance almost immediately. The Hall of Troopers reminds him of the police station from the original Darkseed, but a lantern glows brightly on a table amidst dozens of empty cells. Sure, it's guarded by a trooper who immediately starts bugging Mike for his ID, but Mike has found the light of truth, the first of the 3 objects he needs to destroy the power generator. As for the trooper, he proves surprisingly easy to handle. Mike just needs to tell him he's there to pick up the personal effects from the executed Keeper of the Light, and flash his data card. Then he can treat the trooper as shabbily as he wants. Get him out of the picture. Aren't there prisoners he could be torturing? Then Mike can grab the lantern and beat a hasty retreat. Death alert, don't be coy. Show the trooper Mike's data card and don't try any cute tricks with the other items in the inventory. Otherwise, success is certainly not in the cards. The Weaponry Shop. The Dark World version of Mike's house offers nothing of interest, just a locked house pod with no visible means of entry. So his last exploration should be the Dark World equivalent of the business district. Just as Dr. Sim's office is locked unless Mike has a headache, the first building in this business section is electronically locked. But the Dark World hardware shop has some interesting things on view. Death alert. The best way to open the power locks to the sealed doors in the Dark World is to turn off the electricity. If Mike tampers with the locks with his hanger or other inventory items, he ends up more than a little wrinkled. As Mike enters the weaponry and supply shop, he sees a big blue craftsman hard at work on some type of rifle-ish creation. A few weapons are stored in bins around the shop, but the most interesting of them are protected by a force field. Mike steps up to the counter and engages the weaponsmith in conversation. Like the other lower-class Dark Worlders, he's friendly enough, but also resigned to his own death. The quote-unquote offerings the ancients require of the population are slowly draining all their life force. The craftsman is valuable to the ancients, however, because he builds biomechanical weapons that unite with the body so they're controlled by the nervous system like muscle. The population of the Dark World may be falling every day, but weapons are in high demand, even though it's growing increasingly difficult to procure parts. He can't finish the grenade-launching crossbow he's making for a Drekov guard, for example, unless he finds a trigger mechanism. And if Mike can find one for him, he'll build Mike a weapon. The weaponsmith also tells Mike about Goth, the Dark Worlder who tried to lead a rebellion against the Ancients. The weaponsmith himself built the power lock that keeps Goth trapped in his room behind the recreation center. And as a final news bite, the weaponsmith reveals that someone stole the sword belonging to the Keeper of the Sword before it could be taken to the Hall of Troopers. The craftsman, who constructed the sword, says it's so intelligent that it can sever only that which should never have been joined. He doesn't know who stole it, but a Dark Worlder came to the shop a few days before it disappeared and asked a lot of questions about it. He didn't recognize the man, who seemed biomechanical at one time and organic the next. The Temple of the Triangle. The weaponsmith proved to be very knowledgeable, but he told Mike that the High Priestess could answer even more questions. Unfortunately, the Ancients have imprisoned her inside her own temple, which is located just beyond the weaponry shop, where Paul's house is in the normal world. The temple glows as green as grass amid the stark landscape, and Mike finds it strange that it's unguarded, until he enters and sees that a power beam holds the High Priestess in place. The temple is obviously dedicated to the 3 points of truth, wisdom, and justice because idols of the keepers are mounted on the walls of the temple's interior. The only other object inside the temple is a huge old book with cracked binding. Mike sees that it's called the Necronomicon. Taking a closer look, he sees that it tells an interesting story about a human named Mike Dawson who thwarted the Ancients' recent plan. They wanted to create a creature that could live in both the normal and dark worlds by planting an embryo in the human's brain. It looks like Mike's not delusional after all. Well, citation needed, but anyway. The events from the first Darkseed actually took place. Oh, again, citation needed, but check out the link in the description. Anyway, major plot points alert. The story you're about to hear is not only true, but it's vital to figuring out exactly what you're supposed to do and why. Here are the highlights. First up is the temple was constructed as a church for Dark Worlders. The points of the triangle was their religion before the Ancients arrived and outlawed worship. Next up is the Dark World has existed as long as the normal world. It is the opposite of the normal world. What is pleasure in one is pain in the other. Normal worlders have been visiting for eons, traveling through portals found all over the normal world. The third synopsis. Dark Worlders, however, die if they cross the portal because they need chaos. Normal Worlders are more adaptable. I don't know, it's pretty chaotic in the normal world. I'm just throwing that out there. Alright, next up. The Ancients drain their own planet and a score of others of life force, which is the power that keeps them alive. And now they're after the normal world. Next is the machines in the power center power the locks throughout the dark world. And here's an important one. The credo of the Ancients is, death provides life. And last but not least, only the Drekov Guard, or biomechanical sentries, are interested in whether it is day or night in the dark world. So that doesn't really answer the question. But then again, I don't think she is the one that answers it, so never mind. Alright, next is the Priestess's house. The Priestess's house is located where Rita's house would be, just beyond the temple. There's a guard here too, who's a lot grayer and plumper than Deputy Brown, but just as unwilling to talk. A power lock protects the entrance to the house. The biomechanical guard looks just like Ik and Uk, so this might be Mike's chance to solve the riddle and talk to the Keeper of the Scrolls. But while Ik and Uk have each other to talk to, this sentry is testy from loneliness. Tread carefully and don't pester him or he'll vaporize Mike in a flash. There's no death alert there, but there you go. The critter is guarding the house of the High Priestess because the Ancients think there might be secrets hidden inside. No one, not even privileged workers or normal worlders with ill-gotten data cards, can get inside. On a different subject, the guard knows Ik and Uk and reports that Ik tells the truth during the day and lies at night, while Uk lies during the day and tells the truth at night. Now Mike has the information that he needs. The Keeper of the Scrolls. Returning to Ik and Uk, Mike tells them that he's ready to answer their riddle. You guys playing at home can try either to solve the little logic puzzle or save the game and load it again until you get the right answer. Or you could just read the next sentence. So I record these kind of, far out in advance. It's actually March when I'm recording this. And one of the things that we were joking about in one of the premiere videos that I did, I think it was chapter 1, is that this reads a lot like it's just a personal story, which is why I'm reading it. But I was thinking about it more, and it reminds me a lot of if you look up food recipes online, the person's just like, let me tell you about my life story before I get to the the recipe. It's kind of what I'm getting from this. Anyway, where was I at? Okay, here we go. Sorry. If when asked which one of you is Ik, the left biomechanoid says, during the day I claim to be Ik. I am really Uk. The answer is, you on the right. You are Ik and it is daytime. If the left biomechanoid replies, during the night I claim to be Ik. I am really Uk. Then the correct answer is, you on the right. You are Ik and it is night. Once Ik and Uk bid Mike to pass, "Oh Privileged One" is a title he could get used to. The giant zipper opens to reveal a catwalk into an antechamber before the Keeper of the Scrolls prison chamber. This is probably the worst room Mike has found yet. It's filled with babies who are constantly feeding and vomiting, and it smells like dried puke. A mutant ogre baby, Gargan deserves a better counterpart. Actually, I'm going to say no he does not. And again, see the link in the description. Anyway, a mutant ogre baby has feeding tubes attached to both sides of its head, but it seems insatiable. Machine guns are affixed to its trunk instead of arms. If Mike tries to slip past him, the mutant baby will blast him into oblivion. But if Mike tosses him the Dark World food from his inventory, he can slip past the baby while it's eating. Do it! Do it now and escape from this ultra-icky room. After the ugliness of the previous room, the Keeper of the Scrolls is a breath of fresh air. She's as beautiful as Mike remembers, and she remembers Mike as well. Although this is their first face-to-face meeting, they spoke by phone in the first Darkseed and via TV earlier in the game. Although wasn't it technically like a Skype call in the first game? Anyway. The Keeper finally sets down exactly what the Ancients are planning. The fetus Mike saw in the incubator is the Behemoth, which is capable of entering the normal world and draining all life from it. Although the Ancients can't enter the normal world, they've genetically altered a Dark Worlder into a shapeshifter that's briefly able to assume human form and stroll to the normal world. No one knows what the shapeshifter looks like, but it's the creature that killed Rita and installed her head in the power generator. Once all 4 slots in the generator are filled, the Behemoth will hatch. To destroy the generator, Mike needs to find Goth, who once served the Keeper of the Sword and knows how to use the 3 points to demolish the machine. To find the shapeshifter, Mike must search his memories. But before he could do either of those things, Mike needs to return to the normal world and find a government leader who will unwittingly help him find the truth. And that's the end of Chapter 9. So let's see here. We've added the Light of Truth to Mike's inventory and have met the Keeper of the Soul, the Weaponsmith, the Biomechanical Sentry, and the Keeper of the Scrolls. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, as I normally do. Alright, so first up is the Keeper of the Souls. This encounter with the Keeper of the Souls is part of a successful mission, but any additional trips to the underworld could end your game. I mean, it depends on how many, deaths lay in Mike's wake, but... Alright, the Hall of Troopers. It's payoff time. Finding the light of truth means Mike's got 1 down, 2 to go. Alright, next up is, looks like the weaponsmith. The weaponsmith promises to trade Mike a biomechanical weapon for a triggering mechanism, which probably can be found only in the normal world. Spoilers. Alright, High Priestess. A lot of loose ends get tied up in a long chat with the High Priestess. Is that like a pun because she's tied up? Alright, here's the sentry. No one can enter the High Priestess's house, no matter what type of stolen identification he's carrying. You got that right. Alright, the mutant baby. The mutant baby seems to be concentrating on its next meal, but it's not distracted enough to allow Mike to go into the next room unmaimed. Yep, and he indeed enjoys that meal we give him for the rest of the game. Alright, this last one is kind of interesting, and not because of what it says, although I haven't read it yet, but it's the only one where the caption isn't italicized, or in a different font size, because the other ones look smaller. Anyway, the last image says, the Keeper tells Mike that before she was arrested, she gave the scrolls to the Keeper of the Sword, who had them when she was crucified. Another riddle. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed baking with Darkseed. No, I'm kidding. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading. As always, thank you for watching. Hey y'all, a beta version demo of my game, Tales of Hyperia the Crimson Knight, is available to play over at my itch.io page. The link is down in the description. The final demo version is set to release by the end of the year, and will see massive improvements and upscaling. Make sure you stay tuned for updates.